Coming up, a weightlifting accident landed a young athlete in a wheelchair, but it didn't take away his competitive edge. Now, the quarterback, basketball coach, and loving husband is now trying to become a dad. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. Spinal cord injuries can leave patients paralyzed, but losing the ability to walk doesn't necessarily mean losing the ability to become a father. Today, we're diving into a pretty intimate topic with a young man who wants to be a dad and the doctor who is helping to make that happen. But first, let's get to our morning rounds today. The Kansas City Metro is in desperate need of blood donors. Community Blood Center declared a blood emergency yesterday due to low supply. Morgan Welch from the Community Blood Center is with us now today. Morgan, how low is the supply and why is it so low right now?
Yes, thank you. The blood supply, the ideal level for the blood supply in the KC Metro is 5 to 7 days, and most blood types are running at a lower than 3-day rate, with some types, including O negative, O positive, and B negative, running critically low at a 1 to 2 day supply. Some of the things that contribute to the shortage are the recent Labor Day holiday, back to school activities, a prolonged decrease in use in first-time donors, and different businesses and organizations not having returned since moving to remote or hybrid workplace settings.
Before we move on, I do want to show a website called savealifenow.org. If you're watching or listening, you can schedule a donation or find a donation center and supply, and you can just show up and do that. Morgan, are you looking for any particular people or groups to donate? What kind of blood types?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're critically low with O negative, O positive, B negative, but we will not discriminate. We will take any healthy eligible donor. However, if there are businesses returning to office that have not yet come back to host blood drives, we'd love to coordinate an on-site drive for them to make it more convenient for their donors to be able to donate.
Yeah, lots of ways to help. Are there any incentives for donating, anything that would entice someone to get up and get out there?
Yes, absolutely. So starting this Sunday, we have a unique incentive that we're offering through the end of October. All donors at blood drives or in our fixed center locations will be entered into a drawing to win Aerosmith tickets in November.
Oh, wow. I'm in. That sounds good. You got my attention. Again, you can go to savealifenow.org and learn how to donate. Morgan, thank you so much for sharing. Come back anytime the need is high.
Thank you.
1 minute, Matt Bollig was a college quarterback. The next, he was in an accident and now uses a wheelchair. As Janine Kiesling explains, Matt hasn't let his circumstances, though, slow him down.
Matt Bollig refuses to let being in a wheelchair change his life. He's always been an athlete, and today he's helped build a championship para-football team. Aside from sports, Matt has always wanted to be a dad, and with the help of doctors at the University of Kansas Health System, that dream could soon be a reality. At 21 years young, Matt Bollig was living his dream.
I was playing football at the University of Ottawa.
And in a split second, his life changed course.
Was doing a routine weightlifting exercise and just had an accident, fell on my butt with a bunch of weight on my shoulders, and that pinched my spinal cord.
That accident left Matt without the use of his legs, off the field, and confined to a wheelchair. But he was not alone. Former coaches, teammates, friends, and family rallied behind him.
They told me everything was going to be all right and pointed me in the right direction.
Matt didn't stay down for long.
I found adaptive sports, and that led me down the path I'm on now.
And what an amazing path it has been. Matt's the quarterback for the KC Chiefs para-football team. While they have no affiliation with the Kansas City Chiefs, they also went to Phoenix and won the Super Bowl. So far this year, they are undefeated.
Right now we are. We definitely have the target on our back.
Off the field, Matt is sharing his love for adaptive sports with children. He started coaching para basketball 6 years ago. Not only has the sport grown as more and more children joined, the kids Matt coached are chasing big dreams of their own.
This last year, our high school team got second in the nation, and 3 of those kids are going on to universities. 2 of them are going to Auburn, and then 1 of them is going to Mizzou.
5 years ago, Matt married the love of his life, Taylor.
My wife and I got engaged on a mountain. I didn't get on one knee, I got on one ski since I'm a mono skier, so that's kind of the cliche behind it.
Now they are ready to concentrate on their team, and with the help of doctors at the health system, adding a new player.
Very, very excited. You know, being a coach, I'm kind of always having that mentality. Yeah, it's obviously different having a child, but guiding somebody, helping somebody learn things, that's always been a very big passionate thing for me.
Matt Bollig joins us today, and here in studio with me is urologist Dr. AJ Nangia. Dr. Nangia specializes in men's reproductive health and fertility. And Dr. Nangia, you said your heart is full this morning. Why is that?
Because of Matt. I really don't have any more words to say, really.
You've been talking about him to me for quite a while.
Quite a while.
I'm excited and so happy that he's finally here with us today. Before we get started, Matt, just tell us a little bit about where you're located this morning and just what are the hopes for the space out there?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Right now we're at the wheelchair softball field here in Pleasant Valley Park. You know, we started with this field about 3 years ago. The city helped build it, and we're trying to make this into an adaptive sports, I guess you could say, mecca. We're going to put a football field hopefully in, and then some concession stands with some seating. But right now we're at the softball field, and that's our first stage of hopefully the construction.
So Matt, let's go back to 2012. Tell us about that day that changed your life.
Yeah, it was a normal day. I just got off work. I actually worked for the university in landscaping, and just decided to lift at noon instead of the later time. So went in, routine day, routine everything, and then just had an accident where a box had slipped out from underneath me, and I fell on my butt, and that actually pinched my spinal cord at a T10 and T11.
So we saw in the story that we just saw that you're doing so many amazing, awesome things as an adaptive athlete. You're a coach, you're an advocate. How did you get involved in adaptive sports?
I had several people reach out to me when I first got hurt. Being a sports guy and being on several teams, I had a lot of people in my corner, and they connected me with other athletes that had already been playing adaptive sports for years. At first, I didn't want to play. I didn't think it was going to be down my alley. But as soon as I went out and got back into that competitive nature with my now teammates, but peers at the time, fell in love, and the rest is history. Just kind of fell into the stuff I was going to do before, or wanted to do before when I coached or played football. Wanted to coach football, yeah, now we're coaching wheelchair basketball instead.
Well, and exactly, when you said not down your alley, I guess you're meaning this isn't quite what you had in mind, but it turns out this mission is just completely actually changed your life even more.
100%. Yeah, it's not what I would have thought when I was 10 years old if you were going to ask me what I was going to be doing when I was 21 or 30 now. But, I love every moment of it, and I've told my family and friends, like, my life is probably better now than what it would have been if I would have just been able-bodied and walking.
Something you also don't talk about or think about when you're young is meeting your future spouse. You met your wife. When did you start talking about the idea of planning a family? What were those conversations like, knowing your circumstances?
Started, I wouldn't say right away, but when we got really close, and I would say, several months into the relationship, that's the elephant in the room. How am I going to be able to have a child or anything like that? But again, fortunately enough for me and my family, Taylor had a medical background, so she had a little more understanding on kind of what might have to happen and the steps we might have to go through. So that was very helpful, but nevertheless, it was just, different.
So how did you bump into the guy sitting next to me, Dr. Nangia?
I learned about Dr. Nangia from a couple of my friends, peers that are in the same situation I'm in. They loved him. They talked about him very highly and pointed me in his direction. And as soon as I met him, I knew exactly what they were talking about. He's an amazing guy. He makes his patients feel like family, and he'll probably talk about that too. But yeah, no, it's been great from the very beginning, and they were all exactly right.
Dr. Nangia, just take a moment if you want to talk with Matt, your friend and your patient.
Yeah, Matt. So I have to say a few things without tearing up, okay? And this is how I do give my soul to this job, because everyone is my family, because they're trying to build a family, all right? And when you cannot, sometimes that tragedy can feel even doubly worse than their injury. And so first, let me start by indicating what an inspiration Matt is. He was a team player, he was a quarterback, he was a leader, he had lots of teammates, he had people he leaned on and they leaned on him. It was a tragedy that was filled with subsequent inspiration, hope, and giving forward. And that's a lesson to all of us, that even in your darkest moment, if you have the right people who can love you and support you, that you can climb mountains, literally, in a wheelchair, okay? And I'm a dad, so I feel very strongly about the joys that can hopefully give until they're teenagers, of course, and then you have to pay for college. But apart from that, I just want to say it, and it's a dad joke. I have to give a dad joke.
Of course you do.
So, and Morgan was on a minute ago, right?
Working on him.
Okay, but yeah, so let me give you the greatest dad joke that will tie in the community blood bank. What blood group do you think an optimist has? B positive. B positive. What was the one blood group that Morgan said there was no shortage of? B positive. All right? Now, Matt is the epitome of B positive. Every time I think about Matt, my heart gets full of love and just inspiration that even when we think we are down, Matt isn't. And he's really overcome it, and he's actually become a sports celebrity in his own right.
Right. That, yes. Start making your list, your dad joke list. And Nangia's got plenty of them. And we just want to thank you just for opening up about this intimate conversation. It's important, and you have to be open and candid. So thank you again for being here with that. Dr. Nangia, let's talk about a spinal cord injury isn't obviously the only way that you can have infertility issues. In general, just explain, how do we define infertility? And certainly, between men and women. So
technically, the definition by the American Society of Reproductive Medicine is the inability to have a child naturally and up to a year's worth of trying. That's the definition.
So so how does a spinal cord injury change what we think of as normal sexual function? And I'm going to let you kind of take it away on this, because I think you know what we mean.
Sure.
And when you have no feeling,
that's right.
Explain it to us.
Okay. So the easiest way to explain this to the audience is think of a car, right? When the battery is not working, you can still jumpstart a car. Okay. You can bypass the battery with an electrical spark from another battery, right? Of course. Now, depending on the level of injury with spinal cord injury, you can either maintain or not maintain erectile function, and you also can maintain or not maintain ejaculatory function. So that's part of the ability to have a child naturally.
But even with the spinal cord injury?
So interesting enough, if you look at the biggest advocate of spinal cord injury was Christopher Reeves, who was Superman, and he had a very high spinal cord injury from a horse fall, and he, although had no movement or very little movement of his hands and legs, of course, was actually still able to maintain an erection, believe it or not. That's again a very intimate statement at this time in the morning.
But how? I mean,
well,
how?
because the nerves that are intact is a reflex down in the sacrum. So the lower the spinal cord injury, the worse the potential for that is. So if you had a sacral or a lumbosacral injury, sometimes that leads to a problem with erections.
Matt, I'm just gonna, you kind of are shaking your head. You're welcome to jump in and share if you'd like.
Yeah, Doc's right. you know, we've got a lot of different athletes on our teams, and it's nice to have those type of people around, because you're able to kind of bounce stories back and forth off of each other, experiences and goals. You know, what are you looking for? But I'll let Doc talk on the medical side of it, but I'm just shaking my head because he's right on par. So.
Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, and you're knowing, because like you said, you probably have these conversations with your friends and teammates. Yeah. So the key question is, Dr. Nangia, then how do you help a patient like Matt become a biological father? What are the steps that need to be taken?
So with spinal cord injury, again, level of injury, it could be spina bifida, it could be other non-injury, traumatic injury spinal cord events, okay? And T6, thoracic level 6, the 6th thoracic vertebra, is kind of a level we think about where the adrenaline nerves that stimulate ejaculation are spared if you're above that level, excuse me. Below that, you could be damaging the ejaculatory function, even though you may maintain erectile function, okay? So that method is how we jumpstart people with electricity, or we can bypass all of that and do a biopsy of the testicle directly and get the sperm from that. The intent is to get sperm. Whether it's enough for artificial insemination or IVF, in vitro fertilization, which is why the rest of my team and our team here at the University of Kansas Health System is so important. It's our gynecologists that specialize in reproductive medicine and assisted reproduction, and that's how it gets done.
So what have the conversations with you and Matt been recently about the next steps towards him becoming a dad?
So is that all right with Matt, to just kind of just say some things about you, Matt?
Fire away.
Okay, all right.
Go for it.
So
yes, sir.
we, he had to remind me, I apologize this morning because it's been a while, but we did the jumpstart method. It's a probe with electricity that stimulates the nerves for ejaculation. We got fluid, we got a semen specimen, we froze it. They've done IVF and they're waiting for an embryo transfer right now.
How exciting. Matt, I did IVF myself, so I get it. I've been there. What are the feelings? Tell me a little bit about you and Taylor, and is it exciting? I know there's a lot of worry and anticipation, but what are the thoughts?
I would say exciting is an understatement. I'm overjoyed with where we're at and potentially what's going to happen on Tuesday. Taylor and I can't stop talking about it, and just ready to get this journey going. It's been a long journey leading up to where we're at now, but this next step's going to be life-changing and worth it all. So
Tuesday is the actual transfer?
Yes, yes.
Oh, how exciting. Okay, so we are going to have to bring you back on. Where are they now? And I want to see 3 of you next time, okay?
You got
very
it,
excited.
yes.
Okay, it's a deal. So, Matt, you'd said before that you may never walk again, but you won't give up the fight to be an example to those around you. We've been talking about that this morning, and you did that. You're now a wheelchair basketball director for Midwest Adaptive Sports. Just what has that been like for you? Tell us a little bit about these kids and what's it like to have them be looking up to you?
I really don't know how to describe it other than just, I've got the biggest family in the world and we all love each other. It's starting off when it was just one kid dribbling a couple times to, 2 years ago, that same kid winning the national championship and going 33-0. It's I don't know, I'm trying not to get teary too. It's been everything I've ever wanted. And then, seeing them grow and watching them succeed, it's pretty cool.
It's good stuff. Okay, so this is what, I don't know, it's how many, 9-10 months ago you came, well, about this time last year.
Right after the Chiefs won.
After the Chiefs won.
Matt walked into, he came into clinic.
And then you walked into my office.
Then I walked into your office because Matt and I started talking about it, and he showed me the video of their championship win. I'm like, does anyone know about this?
So you're part of the Kansas City or KC Chiefs para team that won the championship last year. Not necessarily affiliated with the Kansas City Chiefs, but still just as exciting. You guys actually won the championship. You guys were in Arizona, right? At the time this all happened?
Correct, yeah.
Tell us about that experience. We want to know more.
So we're not the Chiefs, actually, obviously, but I mean, they really do support us. So that's why we wear their uniforms and their helmets. And that's why some of the cheerleaders and Casey Wolf was out there. But they flew us from Kansas City out to Phoenix. We got to stay in one of the hotels that some of the teams are staying in. Got to see the whole Super Bowl setup as far as, like, you know, the different events going on. And then we ended up playing on, I think it was Thursday, before the Super Bowl against the LA Rams. And it was a rematch from the year before. We actually played them in the first Super Bowl. They got us the first time, but we ended up winning this last one, and hopefully we can go back this year to Las Vegas.
Very exciting. All right, be sure to ask Matt, Dr. Nangia, Dr. Hawkinson your questions. Use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. Tweet us or email us at the Medical News Network. Info is there on your screen. Let's check in with Doc Hawk, Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control on this Friday. We're at 16 active COVID patients. Is that
That's
for the
correct.
week? Is that right?
Yeah, that's for the week. So we'll see when we get to Monday, what the new count will be. Monday or Tuesday, we'll have that.
So the updated COVID vaccines were officially approved and recommended this week. We heard that news, but any update on when the shots will actually be available?
You know, we heard that it'll be a couple days after the ACIP made their recommendations. I think it was Wednesday. Expecting here at the health system probably sometime in the next 10 to 14 days. We've been in contact with our pharmacists, so don't have a clear answer on that, but it should be soon. But again, there are other vaccines that are out there available. We are still waiting for influenza vaccine here as well, but RSV vaccine is available in the community.
All right, Hawk, since we know that COVID's been spreading recently, if someone recently had COVID, how long should they wait? Do they need to wait to get the new vaccine?
Yeah, I think it's important to wait. I think you can forego or delay your updated or new formulation of the COVID vaccine for 3 months if you've had it recently. I think that is kind of the blanket recommendation we are giving to people. By that time, you'll have a decrease or a contraction of those antibodies, but I just don't think it's going to be any benefit. It certainly won't harm you, but there really won't be any benefit probably before 3 months after having COVID recently. And just remember, as we were talking about the other vaccines as well, you are able to co-administer these vaccines together. So if you did want to wait till your pharmacy or here at the health system till we have all of them and get them at the same time, it is certainly reasonable to do that and co-administer these vaccines together.
That's good to know. Yeah, if you need RSV or flu,
yeah,
one and done. All right.
Yep. And I was just going to say one last thing. There is certainly lower circulation of RSV and flu at this time. And we know the most common cause of respiratory illness around Kansas at this point in time continues to be SARS-CoV-2 as well.
All right, Hawk, thanks so much. Any reporters with us today? Let's get to our community questions. Pat wants to know, is it possible for a woman with a spinal cord injury to conceive and give birth? What are the challenges there? Do we know?
I know from my work with the gynecologist, the answer is yes. I'm not an expert, but there are challenges with pregnancy in spinal cord injury, and I don't want to speak more out of line than that, but yes, they can, very much.
Okay. Paula wants to know, does insurance cover fertility treatment?
Well, that's a soapbox statement, because unfortunately I've spent nearly 25 years trying to explain in health policy that infertility is not an aesthetic. It's not just a will. It's a disease. It's a disease process. It was not something.
It's not a want.
Not a want.
Right.
You know, Matt didn't. It was an accident. That doesn't mean he's exempt from any insurance because he had an accident. That's wrong, right? And fertility, however, is portrayed as an aesthetic, which is a want, not a biological need. But the disease process is a medical condition, and that's why I get very upset that infertility is not covered, and as such, because it's expensive, tends to follow, you know, socioeconomic criteria. You have to have, you know, some degree of wealth to be able to afford that. And that's not fair, but unfortunately the world isn't fair that way. But there is change afoot. Lots of countries actually have coverage. 15 states in the United States have coverage through insurance, if they have insurance. But also there are private riders that go on insurance that are increasing within the US. So again, it's improving, but very slowly.
I want to share something from one of our viewers, Matt. Yen Liang says, I am a man with cerebral palsy, and I am so happy to have the Morning Medical Update with me, just bringing me information, and just says that our guest today is my hero. So what do you say to people who hear you, who see you, and who you represent?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, if they can reach out to me, if we can put my information out there, I would talk to anybody here in the city or anybody in the state and help them, you know, maybe learn the first couple steps and move forward. But it's really about surrounding yourself with people with the knowledge. Luckily for me, I have, again, the peers and the athletes that I play with that did know Dr. Nanya first and introduced me to him. But I don't really know other than just reaching out to somebody that's going to be in the same situation, or just go straight to KU and get a consultation with one of the doctors there and see what you can do.
All right, couple more things. Georgianne just says, I admire Matt so much for just finding a way to stay in sports and also working with kids. Best wishes to you. Jeremy says, Matt, thanks for being willing to talk about something so personal. So again, people are with you and see you and appreciate you this morning. Again, thank you for sharing your story. David wants to know, what's the process look like if Matt wants multiple children in the future? Is it the same process all over again, or are you taking the sperm, freezing it for down the road?
So that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, they may have, and I don't know, I'm not going to publicize it, they may have more embryos. So they have one of the embryos put back and it takes, then they have others that are frozen, that they don't have to do anything more but go back and go through that later process to put the embryo back in.
Because they're almost really at the stage where any couple going through this.
That's right.
Wheelchair or no wheelchair.
That's right. Able-bodied. I don't, you know, adaptive. Sorry, Matt to me is able-bodied.
Yeah.
He's everything.
He's everything. Marie says that she saw an article that mentioned that sperm counts are decreasing overall. Have you heard that? Is that true? Why?
So there is data, large body data to suggest that's happening. Now, like a scientist, unfortunately, it's like, where is that data coming from? We weren't collecting analysis data very well before. We are doing that a lot better in 2023. But historically, there has a sense, and it's weak, but there is a sense that that is happening over decades. Why that's happening, I bet you can tell. Is it plastics? Is it the ozone layer? Is it, you know, pollutants? Is it what's in our diet, right? People ask me that all the time. There's lots of scientific evidence to support some of that, but not like so robust it's black and white, right? But definitely, what are we going to do? We're living in a world where products are different, maybe, and I don't know how to explain. I call it the global warming or negative of sperm. How do we prove it? How do we confirm it? And how do you change it? How do you change it? That's even a bigger problem, right? And I think that's fair.
I want to get to our takeaways today. Dr. Nangia, I'll start with you. What do you want folks to just take away from this talk today?
Oh, I know what exactly I'm going to say right now.
Okay, go for it.
It's like just 8:15, 8:30 in the morning right now. And we all need inspiration and hope. Matt is that person, okay? You know, out of tragedy, out of suffering, comes inspiration, and with inspiration sometimes comes hope and opportunities that you didn't know you were going to have. We all have difficult stories. We're never living in an ideal world, but to get a little glimmer of hope, to have the blood type be positive, just to complete my little dad joke there, and clearly there's a shortage of B negative, which is a good sign, by the way, but no offense to this community bank, we don't want to have a shortage of B negative for blood. But in the world of B positive, opportunities do come. And every time I have a down moment, I think of my able-bodied friend out there, Matt Bollig.
I love that. Phil just said, Dr. Nangia is amazing. Great help in allowing us to become a family. And Mia says that Matt is so brave and inspiring to share his story. So Matt, on that note, what do you want folks to take away from your personal story?
First off, Doc, thank you. Love you to pieces, and appreciate you, everything you've done for my family and my friends around me. But just take away that, you know, anything can happen to you. We never know where we're going to be tomorrow, in an hour, in 30 minutes. But yeah, just put a smile on your face always. Surround yourself with people that love you just as much as you love them, and everything will turn out right. It's just something I've always done, is try to be positive, Doc, and then and just be happy every day. You only get one of these.
That's right.
That's right.
One life, one go round. Matt, I remember embryo transfer day very, very well. So Tuesday, I will be thinking of you and Taylor. And like I said, we will be waiting for the update.
We will.
we're very excited. So again, thank you for sharing.
Party of 3.
A party of 3. Let's do it. All right, before we go, it is a big weekend for the University of Kansas Cancer Center. Tomorrow night is Treads and Threads, a black tie gala and fundraiser out at the Speedway. This is video from last year. This was at Kauffman Stadium and out there at Chiefs Stadium, but we're going to be returning to Kansas Speedway this year. And over the past 20 years, Treads and Threads has raised more than $17 million. Money raised this year will go to help the brand new Cancer Center building. So it's going to be a fun weekend out there. Thanks to all of our guests today. Thanks to our viewers for being with us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday. Coming up Monday on the Morning Medical Update. Hearing you have high-risk prostate cancer is tough. Figuring out where to have it treated can be even tougher. I'm Jessica Lovell. On the next Morning Medical Update, meet a man whose nationwide search for a cure led him to a unique treatment right here at home. Monday at 8.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stein's podcast. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.